I've been late by 20 minutes. Second, couldn't make it to the inaugural session as I was out of station and written only a wari-like thing for me. पंढरीची जशी वारी असते तशी दरवर्षी माझ्याकरताही वारी असते आणि न चुकता मी येण्याचा प्रयत्न करतो. For which I am really grateful to the trust and the dynamic director of the institute, Dr. Ingray. Now, the theme caught my imagination, which I analyze in 4 parts. The education, the basic paradigm of education, the world over changes that are taking place, how ICT is impacting the life space everywhere, and what I could understand, the thrust of the topic is not as much curricular oriented as it is process oriented. Curriculum can be changed, it can be modified, altered at will. And what are the inputs coming? About the warranties of job. So we sit and modify. So every 6 months our curriculum scenario. No social transformation will take place unless the educational processes are rigorized. That has been our understanding right from the beginning, and therefore we have laid so much of emphasis. But again, content was not the point of contest. The process has failed us many times. For example, if you look at the educational discussion and discourse taking place across the country and also in media, people talk about GER, gross enrollment rates. People talk of number of PhDs to be turned out. Last week there was an elaborate article stating how many thousand PhDs are turned out by Chinese universities, and as compared to that, how minimum number are turned out in Indian universities. Then how many graduates are turned out? How many higher education enrollments are increasing? And then how much budget is being created and how much budget is spent. Unfortunately, we have got focused only onto numbers. The mechanistic part, provision of budget and its expenditure. So somebody saying that, all right, 12th plan, 62,000 crores was provided for the higher education. What is the expenditure? Somebody saying, yes, there has been 63,000 crores expenditure. People feel happy, yes, we are progressing. And that is where we are failing. We are fooling each other. We are not being honest to ourselves. Numbers are not important. The quality is important. How many PhDs you turn out doesn't satisfy your social needs. How much is coming out of the textbooks and the dissertations in the applied form? I don't think even in science and technology The thesis that are being, they are not thesis, they are the dissertation that are being turned in, how many of them are published and how many of them are accepted for application? So it's not the issue of numbers. So there is no issue with curriculum framing. We are excellent planners. Nobody can compete with us so far as planning is concerned. Our curricular preparations are excellent. Our numbers are also excellent. Because evaluation patterns also we design and we change. When we find that results are going down, we dilute the norms of evaluation. So there is a grading system. There is some extra marks granting system. Results are also upgraded. In one higher education board examination, when the results were down, they were remoderated to upgrade by 12%. But that did not improve the quality of the product. So curriculum is excellent, numbers are excellent, yet NASSCOM for the first time 7 years back published a report that all the technology graduates that come out of IITs and these engineering institutes, then ASSOCHAM, then NGOs, and now the government organizations are also been auditing all these institutions. They are finding, yes, there is some deficit. Compatibility gap, whatever the quality of the students coming out of urban centers and students' quality coming out from rural areas. Now rural areas have different problems. Mostly it is cultural. We interact with the employers and they say their presentability is low, they are deficient in communication skills, so they talk of the grooming standards. They fall short in grooming standards and communication. They fall short in communication because their preparation was poor. Linguistic preparation was poor. Now one international study has come out with the quality of education at primary and secondary level, in which an eye-opener has been provided that 60% of the students are found deficient with basic abilities on numericals, reasoning ability and linguistic abilities. A follow-up study was conducted with the teachers. Unfortunately, 40% of the teachers teaching at schools at middle and primary level were also found to be deficient in these skills. Now when 40% of the teachers are deficient in basic skills, how can they transfer knowledge to the student and how can they prepare? Now that is the biggest dilemma. That is the biggest problem. And that's not the problem only with India, that's the problem in African countries, that's the problem in Southeast countries and all the developing countries. And we have been discussing this. And we are not unimagined. But this age is also potent with technology is bringing the solutions to the problems also. And the technology is so much confounding and gripping all across the spaces of life that you can't live without it. Now in coming decades time, you'll find that so as to remain relevant and valid to live, nobody would be able to avoid technological adaptation. Now see the telephones. Telephones are gone. The smartphones that you are holding. Almost 90% of the population is handling it. So communication has become very fast. There are other devices also. There are other technologies also of connectivity. Now there is a craze and craving for connectivity, faster connectivity. Everybody wants to be connected, get connected. And when we say of knowledge explosion, the base is the information. That's why we are styling it as information and communication technology. That yes, information is the basic need of survival of human beings today. And the communication technology provides you the means to remain connected. The younger generations, whether in rural areas or urban areas, they are growing with these technologies. Information, media and technology, these are the drivers of survival. And these are the means to bridge the gaps also. Now people have been talking of virtual classroom. That was a fanciful idea a decade back, but many of the institutions have made it a reality, brought it into reality. Just now the briefing was given that yes, V.K. Patil Foundation has been doing it in some selective areas, selective pockets. D.Y. Patil has been doing for their students. And technology has brought in the blackboards, the whiteboards, the smart boards, all those devices which are interactive in nature. And this interactive nature of these devices is making it possible to transfer knowledge from one point to numerous other points simultaneously without a student having to migrate from his place. So, the handicap of the rural students can be removed if they get proper connectivity with the learning centers, teaching centers at urban area or anywhere in the world. So a Harvard professor's speech can be heard in this hall. It can be taken to a village panchayat chowpal. पारावर सुद्धा नेता येत होते. It can be taken to the harvesting area of the farmers if it is related to agriculture. So the connectivity can be created provided the new technologies are adopted in appropriate form and there is wholehearted commitment on the part of the system. Learner is always curious. People are born with capabilities. People are born with curiosity. There will be no person in the world who is not curious to know about new things. Curiosity is the basic identifying mark of humanity. Everybody wants to know everything. Only that he or she needs to have access to information and appropriate tools. Now, the technologies providing that opportunity and those tools, especially in the learning space, where the learning landscape is also transforming. Three ideas have come up, which are very much in discussion these days. One is the flipped classroom. Flipped classroom. I am presenting one idea on blogging. And one is the Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy. For schools, Bloom's taxonomy is recommended, wherein the ICT powered learning environment of 24/7. Now people say we need people who are 24/7. That means who are willing to work for all 24 hours, all 7 days of the week. They don't want to get removed from the workplace. Now, this mindset is being transferred to the students also, that students should go in that mindset of 24/7. And they are, because learning capabilities are different. Educational psychologists have brought to the fore the fact that different people have different learning abilities. Everybody has learning ability. Only that he or she wants to learn at his or her convenience, own convenience. Now, convenience with regard to time. Now, what's the problem with the extant system, the present system? Now, present system is bound in timetable, classroom, brick and mortar system. There has to be building, there has to be room has to be properly provided with furniture. Then there are classes to be arranged, space constant. So, say your timetable is between 7 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock, not beyond that. And we oftentimes come across people saying that I am comfortable at night time. After 12, I start learning. Now, where are those classes in the present system? Then there are certain people who say we are comfortable early in the morning, 4 o'clock. Who can arrange the classes for them at 4 o'clock? There are people who want complete peace zone while studying. And there are people who are comfortable with the music. So music system is on and their learning is going on. So there are different learning abilities for which we need to create different learning platforms. There are people who can understand the thing just by dropping the few hints or one lecture. And we admire that boy, that see how the memory is. He heard once and he can reproduce the whole thing. And there are people who take 4 to 5 times to listen the same thing, to internalize. But once internalized, that becomes the lifelong property for him. So one-time learner, he has the facility, but he forgets after some time. He can reproduce after that. During examination, reproduces. Ask him the same question after 2 years. He said, no, that examination I had prepared, got 100 out of 100, but it's 2 years now, I have forgotten. What's the use of the knowledge? And there is a slow learner who takes 5 times to read the same thing again and again, but internalizes and asks any time in the lifetime, and he can reproduce. These are the learning abilities of the people, different abilities, which brick and mortar system of the present day is incapable of catering to. There is systemic limitation at present. And since we did not provide any alternative earlier, we face the problem of dropouts. The biggest problem the country is faced is of the dropouts. We say yes, enrollment was very high, but only 60% could get through the barrier of 4th class. So we said, alright, remove the examination of 4th class, take it at 7th class. At 7th class, the barrier was again very strict. 50% was dropping. They said, alright, take the examination after 9th class. Now these are the shorter options. We could not find the solutions to the real problems. You did not address the problems. The problem lay with learning abilities to provide different modalities of learning in different situations, different moods and different modes. but then there were constant physical constraints. Now those constraints can be removed with the help of ICT. The technologies that are available, they are capable of reaching the students out to the students at the place where they are, at the time where they are. So it's the mode in which knowledge anywhere, knowledge anytime. ICT can bring it anytime, anywhere, platform for the learners. So somebody is comfortable at 12 o'clock in the night, that can be available to him at night. Somebody comfortable at 4 o'clock in the morning, it can be available at 4 o'clock in the morning. Somebody wants to learn it while sitting in the theatre watching a movie, alright, it can be available to him at that platform. So ICT has brought in solution to all the age-old problems of learning, wherein now everybody can have access to information and knowledge components whenever and whatever one desires to learn. So Bloom's taxonomy, what is also known as K-12 taxonomy, it is about the school, addressing the problems of the school children, where home schools are created. Every home becomes a school. Only that proper connectivity has to be provided, and the student alone or in group or even with families. Nowadays, at least in India, parents are very much involved more than children. The parents are in study mode all the time. So the students alone or in groups or in families can have access to the learning texts relayed by ICT mode and connectivity to learn once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 10 times, 20 times, whatever number he requires. And then the diagrams would be available, the presentations would be available, the physical lectures would be available, the lectures by the beloved teachers would be available. Yes, there is this phenomena also, that there are certain teachers who are very much liked and there are certain teachers who are not liked at all. So here the student can choose the teacher also. Anil, गाड़ी पाठवू नको मी नगरला गाड़ी पाठवू नको. So Bloom's technology is about the school children, how to equip and involve each child. It can be modulated, its forms can be modulated. There is no prescribed text. There is no prescribed course. There is no prescribed script. So beyond the script, beyond the text, beyond the course, students are made enabled to learn. This enabling environment is created by ICT. Flipped classroom, I said, or flipped learning. Now the roles of homework and classwork, they are reversed. Right now in the present system, what we are having, we have the classroom lectures, teacher is teaching, certain structure of lecture, then there are videos, there are the presentation, PowerPoint presentations, presented in the class. And based on that, we say, alright, we have taught this, now this is the homework for you, this is the home assignment for you. The students go home, and nowadays as internet, everybody is internet savvy, there are downloads, and the submissions are made in the class on the appointed date, that yes sir, this is my tutorial, this is my seminar. We are not talking of plagiarism now. We are avoiding the issue. But students do this. And at the end of the semester or trimester or the year end, we give 10 questions, 5 questions, 7 questions for examination, and 33%, 45% is good enough to pass. So with whole knowledge explosion that we have, hardly 5% is prescribed in the course book, and 5% of that is embodied in the question paper, 1/3 of which preparation can get you through. So how much knowledge do you get? 30.1% knowledge is tested. And that's the reason there is a competitivity gap in the market. That employment demands something else, and you are going with the degree, with the components that is irrelevant to the industry and the employer. So now, this proposition is flipped. That classroom work is done at home. There is a suggested textbook, there are suggested web links, there are the suggested material, and the students are given the broad area. Get information wherever you like, or you think over that. If you don't want to read, just think over that. And come with your questions to the class. So classroom is not the lecture room now. Classroom becomes the question answer session, wherein students say, while thinking about this question crossed across my mind, question number 1, give me the solution. My question number 2 is this. I tried to get information on this, wherein my enlightenment was halted at this point. What else can you give me? So, whatever the student was doing at home, that is brought to the classroom, interactive session, and whatever he was doing at classroom is taken to the home. This is how the roles are flipped, and therefore this is known as flipped classroom, which is becoming very popular in America and also going over to the continent. In India also some of the institutes have started experimenting with this. And one thing that I thought could be useful to the student is the logging. Now internet is everybody's savvy. If you are a continuous subscriber and reader of the blog, you will find that there is a chronological order, there is an almanac, there is a calendar. So if today you access some blog which has a reference of a blog of a week back, you can roll it back. So this logging system has become the blogging, which is personal diary of the person who is blogging. And then the whole history, how the interaction was taking place, what was the original idea, where it has come to. So the diary continues in the form of the archive. Now the teachers can very well adapt this blogging system with their students. So say there is some very innovative topic, say you are studying strategy, and there is a branding strategy, and there is the concept of internal branding, and there are students who know, and there are many who do not know what the internal branding is. Now you as a teacher, you as a faculty, volume of information in that blog, so it does not remain a one-way traffic of transmission of information from teacher to the student. It becomes a co-creative process. Who has given this word, co-creative? It has been popularized one of the management thinkers and of Indian origin, Harvard Business Review, accepted this. Yes, C.K. Prahlad. Bottom of the pyramid and co-creation. Students and teacher both go into co-creative mode. They exchange the ideas. They share the information, they share the idea. Now teacher being better poised to articulate the ideas, he can synthesize. That all right, over a month's time we have been discussing this topic and these many ideas have come. Let us prepare the whole theory of it. And this is how the information can spread and concretize and conceptualize in knowledge form. So blogging, flipped classroom, Bloom's taxonomy, these are just for example. There are numerous other methods that are coming in. Bill Gates has created a platform, what we call as eBloom. He is facilitating in a big way. Now there is a Dutch organization which is coming in a big way. Experimental basis, but which can benefit people across the world to minimize the cost. Brick and mortar farm, if in course of time is dismantled or not expanded, the cost will form an interactive platform for all, so learning doesn't become a burden. Right now, a 4-year child being sent to the school every day cries, is reluctant to go to school. If at all he or she goes, always asking mother, Mom, when is the weekend? When are the long vacations? Children are burdened, they are afraid, they are scared of learning. Even in colleges, your burden is avoiding the classes, avoiding the assignments. Avoiding the assignments, they are burden. Examination is a burden and everybody is trying to avoid. How to make it interesting and enduring, that is the real challenge, and this challenge can be addressed through ICT tools and technology that has brought it within the possibility. That's the message from this platform that should go across. Thank you very much.